So I am from San Diego, California, and I've been with Care Patrol for 4 years. I'm a certified senior advisor, and I'm also, I'm conservator for my brother. I have a brother who was born with physical and mental disabilities, and so I have been his conservator for many years. And prior to joining Care Patrol, I was a corporate executive, and in building my career, I moved up and down the West Coast. And as conservator for my brother, I wanted him to be nearby so that I could visit him on a regular basis and so that I could oversee his care. So as I built my career, I would relocate my brother. And in doing that, I visited probably hundreds of group homes over the years. And I got a real sense for what it means and the responsibility that comes with choosing what someone's day-to-day life is going to be. And it really gives me the opportunity to empathize with my clients when they're choosing what will be the forever home for your patients. So that's what got me into Care Patrol. So one of the first questions I ask when I meet with a family or when I meet with a case manager is, who is the durable power of attorney? And the rationale behind asking that question is I want to know who's the responsible party. So in the event that this person, your patient, is not able to make decisions on their own, or at some point is not able to make decisions on their own, who can act on their behalf? And it probably seems like a pretty straightforward question, until you end up in a situation where you have fighting siblings that both produce a durable power of attorney. You've got a schizophrenic son who is power of attorney, durable power of attorney for his mother with dementia. You've got a couple, both with dementia, that are power of attorney for each other. You've got a power of attorney that can't be located. And probably the most common is that there is no durable power of attorney. And that is what I face on a very regular basis. What I find so interesting about this picture here is that you can see that they're pre-planning, right? They're actually having a conversation. What I can tell you is that all too often this conversation is being held in a hospital. I'm calling a notary and having a notary meet me at a hospital so that we can get a durable power of attorney completed, because there isn't one in place. So you might ask yourself, well, why is it that people don't have a durable power of attorney in place? And what I would say and what I've experienced is that there seems to be some fear, right? There's fear of giving up your decision making. And what's important to note in the durable power of attorney is that it's if you become incapacitated. So the durable power of attorney, you are still able to make your own decisions up until you're not. And then what a durable power of attorney does is it protects you, and that now you have someone who can make decisions on your behalf. And now what happens if there is no power of attorney, then, and you become incapacitated, then the court appoints a conservator or a guardian. So the conservator, again, it's appointed by a court. And what's important to note here is that it can be very time intensive, and it can be expensive. And it does require 2 letters by 2 physicians. So in order for someone to be deemed incapacitated, at least in the state of California, it does require that 2 physicians sign off that this person does not have capacity. So there's also a professional fiduciary, and a professional fiduciary is someone who can be retained, and that person can act on your behalf. And that can be in the setting of a durable power of attorney. Choosing someone to be your power of attorney is a lot of responsibility. And so for some people, they would prefer not to have their a family member do that because of the responsibility that comes with it. So in that case, if you don't have a friend, or then you can go ahead and have that person find a professional fiduciary. And that person, the fiduciary, is then someone that you pay to oversee your care and oversee your assets. Okay, so now I'm going to go into a conservatorship during COVID-19. So during COVID-19, as Paula stated, there are some additional complexities that come into play. And so I'm going to give you a specific example where we used didn't have a power of attorney, used a conservatorship and a fiduciary. So in July of 2019, I was introduced by a case manager at a military hospital to a veteran and his wife. And in meeting with the case manager, prior to going into the room, she had let me know that there was some concern about the wife and that she potentially had dementia as well. So I went in with the case manager. She introduced me to the couple. I spent some time with them. I took the wife to visit some memory care for her husband. And it became very apparent to me, especially as the day went on, that she too had some cognitive issues. So I reported this back to the case manager and completed a Adult Protective Services and APS report. And the husband was discharged to a skilled nursing facility for rehab. I followed the case to the SNF, met with the case manager there. And prior to discharge, we started to have the conversation again about placement, and she was just adamant that she was taking him home. So again, APS was contacted. I contacted the conservator of the county to come out and meet with me at the skilled nursing facility. Then we went from the skilled nursing facility with the wife over to their home, and the conservator and a colleague went through some documentation. They determined that the family, the husband and wife, had done what they were to do in terms of planning for retirement. So they'd paid off their home, they saved up money, they had plenty of assets to work with. However, they put everything into a trust, and because everything was in a trust, the county conservator wasn't able to work with them. So as much as none of us wanted this to happen, the couple was discharged back home. And so I worked with the county sheriff's department and with APS. We put a plan in place to provide weekly wellness checks for the family. And I became point of contact for Adult Protective Services as well as for the county sheriff's department with regard to this couple. So this went on for several months. And finally, in March, early March, probably about 10 days prior to shelter in place, I get a call from APS, and they let me know that they are going to be picking up the couple the next day, that their situation had deteriorated to the point where they just were no longer able to care for themselves, and that they were going to need to take them to the hospital. So I was actually quite relieved. I was like, okay, they're going to be cared for. We're going to figure this out, but at least I'll know that they're safe and they're getting nutritious meals. So the very next morning, I get another call from APS, and they let me know that they were not going to be able to pick up the couple, that the hospitals were unable to take new patients due to keeping beds for expected COVID cases. So is quite disappointed, but went into action. And so we had the sheriff's department and the neighbors start delivering meals daily to care for this couple. So then we go into shelter in place. So we've been in shelter in place for about 2 weeks, and it's early one morning. I get probably just after 7, I get a call from a frantic neighbor, and she let me know that the wife had been out looking for her dog that had been deceased for many years, and that she had crossed a busy street. She couldn't make her way back home. The neighbor had to go and get her and bring her back home, and the neighbor was just distraught with how to care for this woman. So I called 911 and literally had to plead with 911, right? Because again, we're in shelter in place. They're like, we can't go, we can't take them to the hospital. I'm like, no, you've got to take them to the hospital. So I got 911 to go to their home, pick them up, took them to the hospital. I got on the phone to an attorney to find out, determine what are our next steps. I then called the neighbor. The neighbor is this woman, 77 years old. She had just cared for her mom for many years who had dementia, and her mom had just passed in January. This woman is now caring for her husband who has stage 4 cancer. And I'm making a request of her to take on being conservator for this couple, because there is no family. There's just no one who can take that on. So she was very willing. We agreed to having her take on a temporary conservatorship, and that we would find a fiduciary. So she met with the attorney, began the process, and the attorney notified us that, you know, the courts are closed, but that they were open to emergency conservatorships. So we were able to initiate the process, and part of that process is that when you conserve an individual, you have to provide them with court documents that let them know that that's what's happening. And whether they can understand those documents or not, those documents have to be served, and it has to be a signed document that those have been received. So with the courts being closed, the court system, the attorneys, no one was an essential worker. So they contacted me as an essential worker, as a certified senior advisor, to get these documents to the hospital so that they could then get to the patients. So I printed all these documents up, tried to keep them all organized as to who went to which. It was quite a bit of paperwork. And I take it into to the hospital. I can't get into the hospital lobby because of COVID. So the case manager meets me in the parking lot and signs for the documents, takes them up to the patients. And then we began the preparing for the hearing itself. This hearing was an hour and a half on the phone, myself, the neighbor, several attorneys, and the court system. So after much discussion, it was approved. So we got the conservatorship for the clients, and I am so happy to report that after 2 months of being in the hospital, the clients have been placed in a residential care home. They're doing incredibly well, and they're extremely happy. So back to you, Becky.
Oh, that's great, Julie. Thank you. What the amazing level of attention that our Care Patrol senior care advisors give to patients who are really needing to find those safe options is just extraordinary. So we really appreciate what you're doing in San Diego, Julie. So I really hope that these stories from the field have resonated with you as case managers and discharge planners. I think you can see the level of care and attention that Care Patrol provides beyond what happens inside the hospital. And, you know, we hope that we were able to educate some of you on the factors happening in senior placement during COVID-19 and even beyond. And so, in summary, we are a no-cost service to you. We want you to know that we're here for you, and we want to hear from you. So to speak to a local senior care advisor in your area, we have provided you with a special website for the ACMA, and it's simply bit.ly/care ACMA. Or just simply give us a call at 888-631-7181. And you can also check out our resources within the special COVID-19 issue that the ACMA has sent. Thank you all so much for being a part of this webinar, and thank you for everything you do every day to enhance the lives of patients.